So the new word, in the corporate lexicon, is resenteeism. If you're wondering what resenteeism is all about, it's actually a successor of what was going on with quiet quitting, where you would show up and really just do the bare minimum. And you can't blame folks because you're, as a corporation, you're trying to give the bare minimum in terms of financial reward, minimum wage, and quite honestly, if they could pay you less, they would try to, if even at all. So quiet quitting became the thing, especially during the pandemic and after, and we're still feeling the effects. And this is what you can feel as the successor to it. And I wholeheartedly agree. So what is resenteeism? In a nutshell, like what it comes down to is you're resentful at your job. You don't feel valued. You don't feel paid for what you're doing. Very often, you sometimes can end up being, say, I've gone through this myself. You end up being the last survivor, in a sense, when others have been laid off, have quit, been fired, whatever reason, you're left. But you don't get any type of reward for the extra work that you're now doing. And they're not going to hire anyone else. You're on your own. And very often, for those folks who are left behind, there's no real way out. A lot of folks will ignorantly, very, very often ignorantly say, just go get a better job, as if you can just snap your fingers and done. If it was that easy, who would stay back besides, a masochist? Because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to better ourselves. And folks who like to think that you can just say, oh, just do better or have something better happen to you. That's not how it works. Very often, the hardest workers are the ones who get, the short end of the stick. They're the ones that have more and more placed on their plate. And yet these corporations, these managers, CEOs, will always find ways to say, you don't deserve anything else, or we don't have money to give you for a raise. You'll end up with something bullshit like a pizza party, or at best, just the 2% raise, that's not even catching up with inflation anymore. And sometimes you'll even see your pay doctor. I've seen these kind of things happen because they're always saying there's not enough money. And yet, every single time you go and look at the stock market, especially with the earnings, you will hear these same corporations brag about how much money they're making. And it's been true for a long time. It has just hit a fever pitch right now, especially ever since the pandemic came around. This inflation is just a nice cover-up for them to price gouge. And why would I, or any millions of Americans as well, feel valued by someone who is actively looking at us as something to be thrown away? There's this saying always of, if life gives you lemon, make lemonade. Why I'm bringing that up is because I swear it feels very often that these folks look at us as lemons, just to be squeezed, every little bit of juice to be squeezed out of us, and when we're no longer useful to them, to throw us away. Because, they'll say, nobody wants lemonade anymore. But that's not true. It's just, well, if I can pay you less or just take you for free, we'll do it. So anyone who's over here pushing for loyalty to these corporations, I got to look at you funny, because it's just like, what are you doing? You're nothing more than a bootlegger, and they will always come for you. They will always try and push you into the corner where it feels like, well, if I say no, what else do I have in my life? Because there's no real options for me. So I don't get where folks get to pushing like corporations are a good thing in the way they're operating right now. There is no loyalty. That loyalty is one way, and it's for them only. for them and their shareholders. So with this, it's just another word to try and capture what we've been feeling for a long time, and that is undervalued and unappreciated. Now, having said that, for those who are trying to look for ways to better themselves, I'm not sure what the advice to give will be here, because for everyone it's different. I just know, don't be loyal to these companies. I've seen the layoffs. I've seen people put in they're all overtime, trying to do as much as they can. And all they get is that email on the day. Sometimes not even getting the email. Their computers, laptops are just shut off. They're no longer able to respond to you on your emails because they no longer work there. And you just find out in a little meeting or an email. It always gets to me how some of these upper management act like it's such a hard thing for them to go through. Like, how narcissistic do you have to be that you took away someone's livelihood? They could have kids. They could be going through some kind of medical condition, but it's hard on you. I mean, I guess so. I mean, how are you going to afford your second or third vacation home now? Your new yacht? I just can't with some of these folks. But going back to that, in the actual point of resenteeism and how that's going on, like some of the things here, and well, let me know if this checks off anything for your list of what you're going through. Lack of advancement opportunities, a toxic corporate culture, an excessive workload, and feelings of burnout. I can say I felt every single one of those. You may have as well. And you don't have to be in an office place to have gone through that. I mean, back when I worked at a warehouse, one of my first jobs, that's what it feels like. It just feels like, you're just slaving away. And it doesn't matter how hard you put in for a day's work. Someone else is making a buck off of your sweat. But with all that being said, if there's a way for you to get out and do something more, and I hate to bring this up as an option, like a gig on the side or do a side hustle, because that's not for everyone. We deserve that your 9 to 5 provides for you and provides for you well. Baby boomers had that, and those boomers, I cannot stand boomers for having taken that away from us. But if you must, go ahead and do it. Find out what else you're good at. Do not get yourself stuck. But with that being said, that's my piece on resenteeism and one of the new words here in the corporate lexicon. But this is just something that's been going on for a long time, and it's just a new word, just a new little trend, just a new little thing to post about. But all the best to you, and hope to see you in the next video.